5 years. That's how long a lie has been living rent-free in NASCAR's collective memory. Everyone remembers the hit. Everyone remembers the anger. But what if the entire story you've been telling yourself about that Indianapolis road course wreck is wrong? Chase Briscoe just dropped a bombshell, and he's willing to prove it with a lie detector test. Here's the situation heading into the chase. Joe Gibbs Racing is stacked. Denny Hamlin sits atop the standings. Chase Briscoe, Christopher Bell, and Ty Gibbs have all punched their playoff tickets. 4 cars, 1 team, all in the championship hunt. But rewind to 2021, the Brickyard. Briscoe, driving for a different team back then, collided with Hamlin not once, but twice in the closing laps. The internet decided immediately. Revenge wreck. Intentional. Malicious. Briscoe says that's completely false. And now, sitting across from Hamlin on a podcast, he's setting the record straight. To understand why this moment still matters, you have to understand what NASCAR fans do with moments like this. They calcify, they become legend. Remember when Briscoe wrecked Denny on purpose isn't just a memory anymore. It's folklore, repeated at racetracks and in comment sections for half a decade. And here's the twist nobody's talking about. These two are teammates now. Every single week, Briscoe walks into the same shop, sits in the same meetings, and races alongside the man he supposedly torpedoed out of spite. If that story were true, that's not a rivalry. That's a ticking time bomb inside a championship organization. So either JGR is somehow managing simmering resentment between 2 of their 4 title contenders, or the narrative fans have been repeating for 5 years never happened the way they think it did. Let's break down what Briscoe actually claims occurred, because the mechanics matter here. First contact, a bold pit strategy gamble. Briscoe short-pitted late, hoping to catch a caution flag, and it worked. He rocketed from 34th to the front row in an instant. That's the kind of high-risk call that separates contenders from pretenders, but it also put him in unfamiliar territory, fighting for position he wasn't expecting to have. Going into turn 1, Briscoe says both he and Hamlin missed the corner, not a targeted shove, a mutual miscalculation under pressure. Briscoe cut across the grass to save his run, which triggered a penalty. According to him, that penalty hadn't even registered in his mind yet when the second contact happened. Second contact, this is the one people point to as proof of intent. But Briscoe's explanation is pure racing logic, not vengeance. Turns 8 through 10 were historically his strongest stretch of that track, a section he dominated in lower series and earlier that same season. He wasn't hunting Hamlin. He was executing his game plan, running his fastest line, and the 2 cars simply arrived at the same piece of asphalt at the same moment. Is that plausible? Absolutely. Road course racing is chaotic by nature. Tight braking zones, overlapping lines, drivers committing to moves within fractions of a second. 2 competitors converging on a proven passing zone isn't conspiracy, it's physics. But here's the uncomfortable truth for Briscoe's version of events. Perception in this sport is often more powerful than fact. Once a fan base decides they've witnessed a revenge play, no amount of technical explanation fully erases it. That's the real risk here. Not whether Briscoe is telling the truth, but whether the truth even matters anymore. You could already picture the split. One side of the fan base eats this up. Vindication for a driver who's been unfairly painted as a villain for half a decade. They'll point to the physics, the racing lines, the logic, and call this case closed. The other side isn't buying it for a second. To them, a lie detector offers a headline-grabbing stunt, not evidence. They'll say intent doesn't need to be conscious to be real. That in the heat of the moment, instinct took over, and Briscoe's subconscious did what his rational mind wouldn't admit to. And then there's Tony Stewart's now infamous reaction in the aftermath, proud of you for standing your ground, which, whether Briscoe likes it or not, has fueled the revenge narrative for years. That single soundbite may have done more damage to Briscoe's reputation than the actual contact. Best case scenario, this podcast moment becomes the definitive close to the story. Briscoe's explanation, paired with Hamlin's own comfort sharing a platform with him, quiets the narrative for good. JGR heads into the chase as a unified 4-car powerhouse with zero internal drama clouding the championship push. Worst case scenario, this doesn't die quietly. Instead, it resurfaces every time Briscoe and Hamlin trade paint on track this postseason and in a playoff format where one bad restart can end a championship dream. Any contact between these two will instantly get reframed through the lens of 2021, one aggressive block, one hard exit off a corner, and 5-year-old accusations come roaring back at the worst possible time. So here's the real question. Does intent even matter if the outcome looks identical? Briscoe's story is 100% true. Does that change how you feel about what happened that day at the Brickyard? Drop your verdict in the comments, guilty or not guilty. And if you want the breakdowns that actually dig past the headlines, hit subscribe, because this chase is about to get very interesting.